Hello, and welcome to Elevate Consciousness, the Awareness Shift, Waking the Quantum Self. Hello! This is our second show in this time slot on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network on 107.7 and 105.3 FM, syndicated radio all over the world. We're streaming on 8 platforms today. And I've got the gorgeous Kristin Mismash with me. Hey, Kristin.
Hi, you're gorgeous too. The gorgeous KAren.
I'm trying to coordinate this music, have a bit of music at the beginning of the show. So, look, we've got the ladies online. UFO of God. What's that? Oh, I see. No, yeah. Did you post something? Oh, hello, Shirley. Yeah. So when you post when you say hello in the chat, it populates to all the 8 different platforms.
Right.
And we've got the gorgeous Shirley here with us. So we're going to talk about spirit guides today. This is a Q&A session. Kristin's got some stories to share. I've got some stories to share. And we're going to take your questions, like who are they? What do they want? How do they help us? All that sort of thing. Where's that gorgeous? Here we go. Add to the stage. The spirit guides.
Yeah.
People often ask me why I call my spirit guides the mob. And when I was young, trying to work all this stuff out, I thought I just had one spirit guide, because that's what I heard someone talk about. They talk to their guide. And I think this is with a lot of people too. A guide? Do I have a guide? A guide? And I forgot to put it on Rumble and Odyssey. Oh, anyway, I am not very organized this morning. Yeah, and I thought I was speaking to one guide, and they thought that was hilarious, that I would be speaking to one guide. And so they showed me this mob. It didn't actually look like that. I wasn't looking up at them. I was kind of looking down at them, like a sea of heads, like a sea of heads, without faces, without identity. Imagine looking down on this sea of just beings, not specifically human beings, just shapes, just beings. Mm-hmm. And I just called it a mob, oh, that's you, mob. It's a mob, is it? It's not just one of you. There's a mob of you. So mob is a very Australian thing. When I was talking to Rich Martini on the show recently, he said, mob, that's the mafia, right? Or your spirit guide's the mafia.
Right.
Oh, that was really funny.
The spiritual mafia.
The spiritual my spiritual mafia. But, the original people that have been known to be called the Aboriginal people, but I have been taught by Stephen Strong that if you call them Aboriginal, ab means not original, like the not of ab. We've called them, right, the Aboriginal people. So I call them the original people. They called their family the mob, like my mob, or they called their people the mob, my mob. So it's a word that they use a lot, even when they're talking about their spirit guides or their family or just their people, the mob, my mob. So, I thought that when I was a bit older. Hey, Carolann. Hey, Kristin and Carolann. How are you doing, man? Good to see you. I want you to ask some questions too about your spirit guide. So, when I was starting my business like this, I called my massage business Blissful Beings. I had a furniture and homeware shop called Bliss, because that was bliss to me, pretty things.
Yeah.
And then you shut that down and started a massage business and called it Blissful Beings. And it was years after that when I kept asking them for their name. What's your name? What's your name? And one day this little thought dropped in. Who do you think the blissful beings are? And I'm like, oh, that's you, mob. That's the mob.
It's the same, right?
Yeah, they don't really have a name. They said it's not really our name, but we like that name. You can call us that, and you're already using that name. And I'm like, right, yeah, because blissful beings is about being blissful, like I'm being blissful, but it's also about beings, as in beings.
Right.
Yeah, it's a kind of twofold thing, right? What do you call your mob, darling one? What do you call your guy?
Well, this begs a question that I've never really asked you, because I've I've worked with you for quite a few years now, and like 9 years, I think. And
Yes, Heidi.
um, yeah, hi Heidi. And you talk about your mob often. I don't feel I have a mob. Like I have a few individual guides, and they create my team. But like Karen, do you have any individual guides, or do you just have like, does any one or two of them step forward? I'm just curious that about you.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So the way that my guides, and it's different for everybody, it's just dependent on what your intention is with this lifetime, where
Mhm.
your level of understanding is, what you want to do with that level of understanding, who you are as a spiritual being having a human experience, and how you're going to integrate that into your physical life. It's really dependent. There's no cookie cutter set. A lot of people, when talking about spiritual stuff, say it's like this, it's this way or the highway, and it's just not. Like, we all come with different intentions.
Right?
Like, there are some people that come to Earth that will never have this conversation about spirit guides and think it's completely ridiculous, and that's fine. That's
It is
their.
fine. Yeah.
And there are scientists and mathematicians that have had brilliant ideas that chalk it up to their own genius and their own intelligence. But we're never alone. We're being inspired by intelligence all the time. And some people will recognize that and some people won't. When I was young, I just called it my common sense. Like, I had this intelligence running through me that I often didn't
Right.
want to listen to, like a parental intelligence, not telling me what to do, but suggesting things.
Mhm.
And I would nah, I don't want to do that, because like the little ego, rebellious me wanted to do something different. But I called it like my common sense, like I'm not listening to my common sense.
Right. Right.
And so, yeah, there are some people that want to speak to people that they've known on Earth, like their dead loved ones or relatives, and they want to call them spirit guides, and they don't want to move past that understanding, and that's fine. And then there are some people that are very connected to galactic intelligence,
Mhm.
and they're inspired by galactic intelligence or a galactic council. And you'll hear teachers all the time across the internet say, I speak to the Council of Nine. Like, even Kevin,
I
Kevin Briggs.
shouldn't giggle because it's legit. I just
It's legit.
yeah.
It's the way it's the way that it's set up for them.
Right.
And Kevin has his council of 8, I think, and they're made up of all different flavors of ETs. And some people speak only to their soul, or some people speak only to God. Remember the guy I had on the show that had rejuvenated the land? What was his name? The older man. I'd say older, he's probably about my
Yeah.
age. And he'd rejuvenated this completely desolate land that had been left behind by mining, and everyone said it will never grow anything on it again, and he grew stuff. And I
Mhm.
said, you work with the elemental kingdom? And he said, I work with God. Like, he didn't want to know about fairies, elemental. It was like,
Right.
it's God is guiding me. And so
Right.
his guides was God, and he didn't want to know about anything more than it was God. So yeah, that worked for him. That
Yeah.
works for him. Yeah.
Well, and I grew up, I mean, we've talked about it before. I grew up with a very religious background. I grew up in the Mormon church. The LDS church is another name, the Latter-day Saint church, whatever. I just call it the Mormon church. That's what I grew up in. And we are taught constantly in that religion that there's the Godhead and there's three beings in the Godhead, Heavenly Father or God, but we call him Heavenly Father, Jesus, and then the Holy Ghost. And the Holy Ghost is my constant companion and is with me and guides me. And there's a little manipulation, like I should be living right. So the Holy Ghost wants to reside with me and still be my guide and comfort. But, when I was younger and still believing, and I'm talking like late teens, early 20s, and I would feel the presence of the Holy Ghost because they taught me that in the church, to feel it like in my chest. And I actually heard a voice come very clearly. It was after I was adopted as a newborn. It was right after I met my birth mother. And I was in my early 20s, and I had never really wanted to meet her, but she sought me out. and I allowed it to flow, and it was a beautiful experience. But I remember leaving the experience saying, just in conversation with myself, like, that was really, really beautiful and really cool, but I think I could have gone my whole life and never met her and still been fine. So why did I have to do that? Why did I have to go through all that? And the voice came so clear and so present. And I always say over here, because this is where it comes from on me. And it said, that wasn't for you, that was for her. And I just went, oh. And so I could not deny that that was not my voice. It was a male sounding voice. It was very distinct. And over the course, I'm now in my 50s. And over the course of the years, I've heard that voice again. And I've heard it while I was still in the Mormon church and still part of it. And it was the exact same voice. And once I left and I became familiarized with my spirit guide, and he has a name, and his name is Daniel, and he's my main guide. So that's why I was kind of like talking to you about differentiating between a mob and guides. But my main guide, it's him. And he never cared that I called him the Holy Ghost or the Holy Spirit. Now I know it's Daniel. And he actually has a pretty good sense of humor, too, like your mob does as well. So, I have him, and I have a great grandmother that's with me all the time. And she's more my energy worker. She shows up when I'm doing energy work. And I have, other guides, galactic, Sasquatch, all kinds of things too. I never think of them as a collective like you picture yours. So it's so different how I commune than you do.
It all depends on what makes you feel connected and what makes you feel comfortable. Like having a relationship with an identity that comes to you with a feeling, with the same voice, with an identity, with a name or an image.
Yeah.
It's like having a mentor or a guru or a spiritual teacher in spirit, and having that relationship with that identity. Because, when we leave this earthly plane, we are not this identity. Like, we are so many identities. And that's what my guide said to me, getting back. So having that relationship with identity can help one feel like confident and supported and secure and nice. And so many people do that. That's not what my guides taught me, because I cried out for years for an identity, and they wouldn't give me one. They just wouldn't. The rats. No. But what they did was, I had years ago when I was young, I had bought this tape from this guy that I'd done this course, Meet Your Spirit Guides. And it was a guided meditation, walking down a path, and you come across a brook, and you sit by the beautiful stream, and you invite your spirit guide to come and meet you. And no one came. And so I did it over and over again. And I said to this guy, no one's coming. And he said, maybe you just can't do it. You're hopeless. So I'm like this young girl thinking, I'm just hopeless. And and my guides have been talking to me my whole life, and they just think I'm hilarious. I'm their best sitcom. Honestly, they're a comedy show. They just sit back and just laugh, eat popcorn and laugh at me. Anyway, so one day they said, oh, God, Karen, we have been so many identities. If you really insist on having an identity, pick one and we'll show up as it. And so I didn't pick an identity like Jesus or Archangel Michael or someone like that, Mother Mary. I just said, a handsome young man, because I was a young girl, a handsome young man would be nice. And then as soon as I had that thought, bang, I had this image of this handsome young man standing before me. And they said, will this do?
And I guess so.
And I never called on that image ever again, because I understood what they were teaching me, that I'm speaking. And when in 2004, when I went to see Abraham, Esther and Jerry Hicks, I went on a cruise. And the burning question I had, I was never called upon, but I sat through the whole week of the cruise, and it was in the last session was, who is Abraham and how does he speak to you? Like, how does this work? How does this work? And she answered it. She always said, we're going to answer your question whether you're called into the hot seat or not. Your question will be answered. And sure enough, it was. And they called themselves a stream of consciousness. And as soon as those words flew out of her mouth, I knew that was my experience. I was speaking to a stream. They said that we gave ourselves a name and an identity called Abraham. because that's what Esther at the time that she connected with us was comfortable with. And she just stuck with it, right? And so people think that she's channeling some dude called Abraham. No, she's channeling this stream of consciousness. And over the years, they've expanded on that. And they said, we are the same intelligence that all the teachers on your planet, all the masters on your planet have tapped into. I mean, and some people call that God. Like you're tapping into this stream of intelligence. And then after a while, I was reading the Ra books or listening to people talk about the Ra books. And there is a word, the person that they were, the information that they're channeling in the Ra books, which gave the name of Ra, said we are a social memory complex of Venus. And then that lit me up inside as well. I'm like, ooh, a social memory complex. So Venus, which was once a civilization that had existed for eons of time and then ceased to exist, all those, imagine all the lives, all the beings, all the souls that incarnated into lives on Venus and led out. Think about Earth. Think about the social memory complex of Earth. All the people that have lived on Earth, for it's been longer than how the scientists say 20,000 years. It's been millions of years. Everything they've experienced, everything they've learned, all that information has gone into one memory, a complex, a memory, a bubble of intelligence. I'm looking for words, a social memory complex. And you can tap into that wisdom. Like you can just tap in and bring down that information. So that's really what my guides, who I reverently call the mob or blissful beings, share with me about who they are. We're not identity, but we can show up as identity if you want identity. So we can show up as just information tapping into intelligence, or we can show up as collective consciousness like the Palladian collective or the Arcturian collective or the Greys, the consciousness of the Greys. Like if you were to tap in, if you were an ET, imagine, and you wanted to tap into the consciousness of humans, would you talk to one human, or would you want to know, like, would you want to, like, how do humans think and feel, and how do they operate, and what do they know, and what is the human understanding? So you would tap in to the consciousness of humanity at a specific stage of evolution. Obviously it's evolving. So it can get and I surely love this, it can get really complicated.
Well, what you're talking about though, in comparison to like my experience, and then I had an experience earlier this week being part of a guided meditation, and I felt like I was really tapped in, and then the name God was brought in, and zoop, it took me out of it. And what I believe happened, and I talked to a couple other people that had this meditation, is that all of a sudden the oneness, what you're describing, pulls me into a oneness consciousness, a unity consciousness, and keeps me from feeling alone and assists me in being a part of that. But then when it's given a name like God, especially something with such a heavy name to it, or if it's my spirit guide Daniel or whatever, that actually creates a separateness. And one of the lessons that I'm learning from my guides, and that there is a team, and that there is a mob, and that I'm not this lone soldier here plugging along. We are one whole team. I'm just the expression that's experiencing Earth. But I am no less, no more part of that mob, if you will, of my own. And that is the lesson I've been being taught the last couple months. It's a really cool thing to learn. So
yeah. I mean, it was never more beautifully expressed than, with Francis Reiki.
Oh, I love the teen books. I've only been able to get through teen book 1, but oh my gosh, yeah.
So I have to get Frances back on the show. She's been on the show many times, but so the team books, they call it A Mother's Wisdom from the Other Side. This is a quote from the book. You are not alone. You are not really even functioning as just one person. Nobody is, for you are a member of a spiritual team as close to you as breathing. So her mother died in 2010. And Frances, who was a very psychic child, had the books aren't showing up. Oh, I know, my website, I've got to fix it. Amazon changed the game, and you got to go back to all the thing and change everything anyway. And when her mother died, her psychic abilities came online, and she spoke so beautifully about it. Actually, she spoke about how during this period of time when she was communicating with what she thought was her mother, because she was on a plane, her daughter had been by her mother's side as her mother was dying, and said, Grandma, when you go over to heaven, can you ask God to give me a baby, because I haven't been able to fall pregnant? It makes me cry, this story. And Grandma said, sure, I'll tell God that's what you want. Anyway, after she died, the daughter fell pregnant, and Frances was on a plane going to see the daughter, and she's looking out the window into the sky, and she's saying, Mummy, where are you now? Where are you now? And she's talking to her mother in her head. And her mother started answering her. And this communication went on for 3 months, and culminated in the 4 team books. And initially she thought, I'm speaking to my mother in the afterlife, right?
She did.
And so that gave her great comfort, and her level of understanding at the time that she started the communication was, I'm speaking to Mum. But after a month or so, she realized that the information coming, who she still thought it was just her mother, was so much more, so much bigger than her mother, like so vast. It went back in history, and it went into biblical passages, and her mother was very spiritual when she was alive anyway. And so she, again, attributed a lot of it to her mother. And then she realized, and she started asking questions. Am I only speaking to you? And the answer's like, no, we are a team. We are a vast team of intelligence, of beings that are communicating to you. And she realized that a lot of the information that was coming through was coming from this combination of intelligence throughout time and space, bigger than we can even, like I say, the mob, the blissful beings, bigger than we can even imagine, and brought through these team books. And the team books are very much about how we are, connected to a team. But if it gives you comfort to talk to just one identity, like your mother or Daniel, the information that comes from many funnels through the idea of the one, because that's, what helps you on your human journey.
Yeah.
And what's Carolann saying here? I always hear my spirit guides speaking to me. In the past, I always thought it was just my inner voice, but now I know better.
Right.
Yeah. And she says, I love that, Kristin. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, what is she saying? I always thought it was just my inner being. Yeah. So, right, we can attribute our guidance to our inner being. I was talking to my guides this morning about this as I'm getting ready, actually. They're already yakking to me about it. And I'm like, that's a bit complicated. Am I going to go there? So in truth, we're all one. We're all one. Like, this is something that from our linear human mind perspective is kind of incomprehensible to understand, that we're all one being. There's only one being throughout the multi-cosmos, and that being we could call God, if you like, or consciousness. But we divide into many, like trillions, like infinite. We divided. But when you come into it, like your angels and your spirit guides and your dead relatives, if you kind of come up the spiritual ladder out of separation into more unity, it's all you anyway. It's all you.
Yeah.
It's like I am my spirit guide. It's just that I'm forgetting that, and I'm having this human experience, and I'm rooted, I'm focused in identity and separation. I'm focused in body, mind, personality, ego complex, and I'm experiencing separation in this form. But as we ascend back to the wholeness and the unity, we understand that, Daniel is you, or your angel is you. It's a part of your team, and then a part of your soul, and then a part of your oversoul, and then there's a bigger oversoul and a bigger oversoul and a bigger oversoul until it's all just one. It's one. Yeah. So that's what I was having a chat with this morning with. And I'm like, am I going to go there? It's a bit complicated. Anyway, go on.
I think it's perfect. And I tell you what, it makes me think of, and not to detract from what we're talking about, but your explanation of being connected to that unity consciousness and that oversoul, or that's bigger, is it's bringing in like how to tap into healing and bringing in peace and healing and physical healing. It's tapping into that universal life force. And it's not like, okay, I have to do all these things and I'm not worthy and I have to tap in and I have to, perform all these little rituals and then I get a grasp of it and then I'll eke in some little dribble of it to heal me. No, I am connected to it. I am part of it. I am whole. I am healed. Bring that in. And that is, I don't have to call on it. That's what I'm working on, is that it's all out there. I just expand myself into all of it. My little me, I remember or recall that is the consciousness that I'm part of. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I enjoy being human and I enjoy my human ego, and I enjoy her when she's pissed off or upset or depressed. I enjoy her personality when she makes jokes and laughs. Like,
yeah,
I
me
just,
too. I love
but
yours too.
but I see her as this creation, like you're an actor on a stage or in a movie, you're playing this, and I can sort of step back from that identity and witness her. This is something that happened to me when I was really young. I was crying over a boy and, wanting life to end because, nobody loves me. I'm unlovable. No one will ever love me. And having a pity party moment. It was when I was really young, in my 20s. And then I had this experience, this awareness of me watching this, like I would watch a good movie, again, sitting there eating popcorn, watching, going, this is a good movie. When you watch a good movie,
like a bird's eye view, like up and removed?
It was like I was in her. I was in me having my pity party, and then I was in this part of me that was watching me have my pity party. And some people have called that the witness. And again, when who did I have on the show last? We were talking about Nancy Rhines. Who did I have on the show? God, my memory. Anyway, we were talking about Nancy Rhines, who had an NDE. Oh, yeah, of course, it was Virginia Drake, and her NDE. And she had that experience of being in her body and out of her body simultaneously. So witnessing what was happening, but also in the body. So Nancy Rhines, I remember she talked about that when she described her NDE, that she was being dragged under the truck. She was hit by a truck. She was on a bicycle, being dragged under the truck. But she was also outside the truck watching it.
Right.
Like watching it without emotion, not going, oh my God, I'm being dragged out of the truck. That's terrible. But just witnessing it. And that's what I experienced as this young girl going, oh, poor me. No one's ever going to love me. This person was just watching, And
that's actually something I hear often. People experience that sometimes in accidents or something like you went through. It's little bits and pieces. Like when I'm working or talking with somebody and they're like, well, I don't have gifts and I'm not spiritual. And I'm like, well, tell me some stories. I get stories out. And they often have a story similar to that one, where they're watching from a distance or above or.
Yeah. As I say, some people have called it, oh, thanks, Heidi. Yeah, Virginia.
Yeah.
She's telling me the name. Thanks, Heidi. Exactly. A lot of people have called that the witness. I remember talking to a very Christian girlfriend of mine who was a sort of agnostic growing up, and then she found God, became a born-again Christian. And I was relaying that story about myself, the witness, and she goes, I saw her face light up. The witness. It really resonated with her because she'd had some sort of similar experience. But again, it's like Carolann said, it's your own soul. It's a part of you witnessing that play that you're in, that movie that you're starring in called My Life, without judgment and without emotion. What's Diane saying here? Hey, Diane.
Yeah, I went it's beautiful.
To a place and sat outside at a table with 5 empty chairs around a circular table, which triggered me to ask for help with some changes in my life. Felt supported.
Like as though those chairs weren't empty is what I'm picking up on. I love that. I think that's beautiful.
I sent to Kristin. I wonder if I can bring it up on what she's saying here. In between my tears and bites of my breakfast sandwich was amazing and reminded me of how I'm known for enjoying tasty food. My dad would smile when I eat. Yeah, probably your dad was sitting at the table. And what Shirley's saying here happened to me when I was out of body during an accident. You know, told us about that, Shirley. I witnessed the dear girl there who was me, but out of body. I was not her until I went back in and joined her body again. Yeah, often a lot of people say that when they have near-death experiences or out-of-body experiences, they'll look back on their body and not even recognize that it's them. They just see someone lying in a bed or on a hospital table, like, who is that poor person lying down there? Or if they've been hit by a car or something, I'll go, oh, isn't that terrible? That person got hit by a car, and they don't even identify that it's them.
Well, and I've been pondering that, because there are times when that body, that human, hasn't been declared dead, that they're actually still alive, they're breathing and what have you. There's a part of them that's outside doing the witness part. And then also they have near-death experiences and they are declared dead and they go to the other side or they travel. I think it's actually a more gray area. I don't really like that term so much, but I don't think that you just have to be declared dead and die to have those out-of-body experiences, is what I'm finding.
No, we're out of body every night, as we've discussed on the show many times. We're out of body every night, and it's just that when we come back into we pass through the river of oblivion or the veil of forgetfulness, we forget our nightly sojourns. But we're out of, but not always. Like I rarely remember what I'm doing at night. I wake up with crazy dreams in my head. I'm busy. I'm so busy. I always wake up exhausted. I'm so busy at night. Like I'll have a piece of conversations and where I was and where I was going, and it's always so busy. And just thinking about it exhausts me. So it's kind of like I like to forget it. But when things happen, like when my best friend killed herself when I was in my 30s, I had such clear memory of being with her every night for a period of time and what we did, like such clear recall, which I don't have normally. So we can have it when there is, like when we were being taught. She was teaching me along with my guides or my soul or my higher self, giving me the ability to bust through that veil of forgetfulness and remember what was happening when I was out of body at night, hanging out with my dead friend, and which is something that closed again. So it opened for that experience and closed again as I led the rest of my life. And I was going to tell the Shirley MacLaine story, which again was an opening. My guides gave me this experience of remembering, which I don't normally have. But as I say, we can develop our consciousness so we can remember every night. Penny Kelly called it. She said to me once on the show that she didn't sleep for 3 years. I said, what do you mean you didn't sleep for 3 years? So what she was talking about was she had this stream of consciousness where when she fell asleep at night, she was in the same consciousness as when she was awake in her body. So there was this, her body was asleep, but she was awake, which we all do every night. But when she came back into her body, she had no sensation of ever being asleep because she was awake and conscious outside her body. And there was this smooth transition from astral to physical to astral, outer realm to inner realm. Like there was so she felt like, she described it as, I've not slept for 3 years. And I said, well, what did you do? And she said, well, at first I didn't know what to do. So I just floated up to the roof of my house and sat on the roof of my house and looked out at the stars. And Kevin Briggs talks about this too, like not understanding that you can go anywhere when you're outside your astral, but when you're still maintaining the consciousness of your human understanding, when you're out of body at night, you don't know. So she said some ETs came and picked her up and took her on a spaceship. And again, Kevin said the same thing, that a galactic guide came and told him that he could travel across the cosmos in his astral form. And he came in what looked like a spaceship, and he said, I want a spaceship. And the guide said to him, well, just create it. And he said, what do you mean just create it? He said, thought creates. Yeah. So just with your thoughts, create a spaceship and then fly across the universe in your spaceship. in your astral spaceship. And he said, okay. And so when he did that, he practiced that for a while, his thinking. His guide didn't need to sort of hold his hand anymore, so he could just get in his little astral spaceship and fly wherever he wanted to go. Because thought creates, right? But yeah, so where was I going with that?
Well, you were
out of body, being out of body.
Yeah. Well, and I think, like my experiences, I don't astral travel consciously and take off and decide to go here or there, like Preston Dennett talks about and teaches, in his books and things like that. But I do have the understanding that I leave my body every night, and sometimes I don't have that gentle entry like you were talking about that Penny Kelly says she has, because sometimes I'm awakened and it hurts my body, like as though I've been slammed back in too fast. It's the only way I know how to describe it. It happens to me sometimes when I go to like a crystal bowl sound bath or certain meditation. If the facilitator doesn't bring me back slowly, like, it feels like when you open a package and you're trying to put something back in that plastic packaging and it doesn't fit quite right, like that's how I'll feel the rest of the day.
Yeah.
And, but sometimes it just is a gentle glide. But yeah, I don't have those astral ones, but tell your Shirley MacLaine story, because she's one of my favorites.
I will. I want to get to some of these questions.
Yeah.
Can spirits cooperate? Can you make new friends when you die? Who allocates our spirit guides, and do they stay with us for the duration of our life? I think that's a great question.
Yeah.
So we allocate our spirit guides because from our non-physical perspective, again, I don't know the exact ins and outs of it, but we belong to a team, as Francis says through the team books, a spiritual team or a soul family or a soul group. So we've come down from infinite consciousness into oversoul, smaller, oversoul meaning that this consciousness overarcs like many, and then through intention into smaller and smaller until we come into like physical singular identity. But yeah, we belong to a team who are all a part of our oversoul, because they're all us, but they're living out their different lives with their different souls and having experience. And so if you're coming into the earth experience and you've never been on the earth before, you would ask people that are part of your spiritual team or your oversoul or your group, your spiritual family, can you help me as I experience a human life? And yeah, you collect this team and they say, sure. And they, what do you want to do in your life? So in truth, when we insert ourselves into the earth experience, we do so through all time and space. Like we don't, because there's no linear time. Like we don't live one life, die, talk about it, and then come back. We say, I'm going to experience the earth experience. I want to run with the dinosaurs. I want to come into the 1500s. I want to hang out with Jesus or Buddha or prehistoric man or whatever. We look through all time and space and we say, that looks interesting and that looks interesting. And, I want to be in 2025, part of the shift in consciousness. I want to be there in the year 3000. I want to be there when the planet explodes. Like we just look through all time and space and we decide what we want to experience in each life. And so if we want to develop our creative pursuits, like I want to be an artist or a writer, then you would ask someone in your team that has experienced that, can you help me? And they would help you for that duration of that experience. And Peter asks, can guides change? And they absolutely do change.
Yeah.
So this was the conversation I was having about Shirley when I met Shirley in the afterlife. And I'll tell the story. She said to me, I'm one of your teachers. But she's not been one of my teachers my whole life. She was just there for my spiritual awakening. Her intention as Shirley MacLaine, the movie star, actress, was to get a lot of attention from humanity and then have her spiritual awakening, write about it, and then activate and wake up people. And I was one of those people. So not only was she one of my teachers, she was one of millions of teachers who
Right.
Shirley MacLaine's books helped wake them up. So so when that happened, she was no longer, that present in my life because she had a job to do. So guides can change. That, some can help you be a mother, and when you're not sort of doing the mothering thing, like kids have grown up, you don't need them. Or some can help you be an artist or a writer or a mathematician or a scientist, like whatever you're working with. I think Garnet talks about he wanted Shakespeare to be one of his spirit guides to help him with his writing his books.
Yeah, and he ended up getting, I can't remember, but some writer, I do this a lot off. I've been doing this often with my friends in my group, and people are working on their online presence or they're teaching online courses, and they're like, oh, I'm so technically challenged, I can't do this part. And I say, then call in your guides that are good at it. Call in your tech wizard guides. And they laugh, and I'm like, I know it sounds funny, but it's true. Just like if I'm on a road trip and I'm in the middle of a storm and I'm driving, and I'll go, all right, bring in the guides that are really good at driving and get me out of this. And
I've got great driving guides. Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. And Carolann says, yeah, like our own personal muse. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
I often say to people, I don't know who's driving this car because I'm not. Like they drive the car, honestly.
Right.
They drive I remember I'd smashed my car years ago and I couldn't afford to get it fixed. It was all smashed up the front, and the what do you call it? The bonnet was sort of lifting up as I drove. The wind would lift up and it would bang, 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 bang. And I was driving from Sydney to Byron Bay with a girlfriend in my smashed up car years ago, and she said, "We can't drive in your car. It's terrible." I said, "I'm just going to ask the angels to sit on the bonnet." Keep it down. As we drove 12 hours to Byron Bay and 12 hours back.
Yeah.
And they did, and it worked, and it was great. There was no problem.
Right.
So funny.
And I'll just add this, and I don't think it's a requirement, but I often like to say thank you.
Oh my God.
Thank you for getting me this safe. Yeah.
Yeah, say thank you. We are running out of time. This is going so quickly. I haven't
even
got through half the questions.
Do your station ID thing.
How do you qualify to become a spirit guide? Yeah, well, once you've mastered something, then you can help somebody else master it. So you can be a guide on Earth and you can be a guide over there. Elisa Medhu's son, Eric, speaks about his evolution as a spirit guide. So he's like a 20-year-old angry, depressed kid who shoots himself, and he's no longer that when he's dead, but he had a mission to help awaken humanity. And as he did that mission with his mother, Elisa, and brought people to her and mediums and people that were dead, like she used to say, I get Eric to go fetch. When somebody dies, I say to Eric, go get that soul who's just died so we can interview them. And he speaks about how he's developing as a spirit guide by helping her and her helping people here on Earth. But yeah, so we can develop as a spirit guide. Station ID break. Yes. So you are listening to a new show with KAren Swain and Kristin Mismash today. And Carolann is also with us sometimes, called Elevate. Elevate, the awareness shift, waking the quantum self. And we are on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network on 107.7, 105 FM, syndicated radio all over the place. We're talking about spirit guides and how can we connect with our spirit guides. We are running out of time. I'm not even going to get the Shirley MacLaine story in today. How can we connect with our spirit guides? Well, the best thing to do to connect with our spirit guides is to meditate. First of all, ask them, because at the beginning when I asked, I wasn't getting anything, but I practiced meditating for a very long time. And I moved myself. The first time I went to meditation, I was 26 years old. I went up to Vipassana, which is a Buddhist meditation retreat. And I spent 3 or 4 days in hell. I was uncomfortable physically. My mind was screaming at me. I wanted to kill myself or somebody else. It was just like that monkey mind. And then after that, I started to calm down. So their process is to sort of feel this energy moving through your body. They bring you into the body, which I do with people, to feel the sensation of your body. And after a while, you start to feel the energy just ripple through your body. It's like this motion of energy that just moves over your body. And so after a few days, I started to feel that. And then when I was feeling that, and I could just focus on that, I could just be there with that energy and feel it and focus on it, I started to just spontaneously go into past lives. I started to see a whole lot of past lives, and I started to feel more connected to my spirit guides. But as I say, I was already always connected, and all of us are. There's not one being on earth that is not connected to your guides. It's just, what do you call it? Do you call it your gut feeling, your intuition, your common sense? Like, what are you naming it? What are you calling it? I called it my common sense until I started meditating. And then I had much more discernment and focus of the different frequency. When you meditate, you expand your sensitivity and you start to discern different frequency, different energy. You start to feel different energy much more heightened, much more exaggerated. And so I could discern the different energies speaking to me and through me. And meditate.
I have a tool that assisted me a lot as I was learning how to do these things, because I was much older than you, Karen, when I stepped into them. And one of the things that I like to illustrate with other people too, it was part of my Reiki training when I was learning how to be a Reiki facilitator. I was taught how to do spirit writing. And there's different methods of doing it. But in the end, it connects me to that stream of consciousness, and it ends up flowing. And this is actually a tool that I have instructed some people to do when they're experiencing a lot of grief. And if this is a field that they haven't forayed into too, like I'll say, oh, you were with that, you were married to that person, or that was your child or your brother, or you knew them for many, many years, right? And they'll say, oh, yes. And I said, this is because this has actually worked for me. This worked for me early on after my hubby passed. And I would write something like a question or something, just in conversation even. And then I knew pretty much what he would say back. And then I would say something back like me. And then I kind of knew what he would say because I knew his personality really well. And then by the time I got to like the third or fourth line, the stream of consciousness would flow. And I was getting messages. Exactly. And so, I learned it a little in my Reiki training. We just called it spirit writing. Just a way to connect to like my main guide or to a Reiki master or to the consciousness. But it really became a tool when Andrew first passed for me. And I only had to do it a couple times because of my knowledge of all the things in the afterlife, because I already had that. But doing it that way, and then now I do spirit writing every day, almost every day.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't get attached to what I'm connecting with. I just connect in and I go, what does Kristin's higher self need her to learn today? What does
I want everyone I want everyone to move to a place where I am. People say, oh, you're so good at this and you're amazing. And there's nothing amazing about me. My guides say that, just like Jesus said, we spoke with that about Ginny last week, everything I can do, you can do too. Like all that I have done and more that you can achieve. And having that experience of knowing you're guided constantly, and at a moment, as soon as you have a question, you can receive that answer. And we talked about this with Rich Martini. It's your guides because before you can even finish answering the question, the answer comes. It's so fast. It's so fast. You never have to think about it. You go, oh, like I often, when I'm talking to people, I go, oh, how does that work? And before I can finish that thought, I'm receiving the information. And I want us all to be like that, because that's the evolution of consciousness. All right, we're going to get to the Shirley MacLaine. We've got 10 minutes left of the show. So I'm in my 30s, I think late 30s. I've done a whole lot of healing courses, and I've met all these fabulous people. And one of the people had said to me, oh, you have to read the Michael Newton's books, these books about the journey of souls and stuff like that. But it was before I had the internet or a computer. And I couldn't remember what they said. I go, yeah. Like I've read a million books, and everyone's like, read this book. Anyway, I go to a bookshop. I say, somebody told me to get a book about like a spiritual bookshop about souls and journeys. And she said, is it a soul's journey? And I said, that sounds right. It wasn't Michael Newton's book, but fabulous, mistake, coincidence, synchronicity. It was a book by who penned himself. He named himself Peter Richelieu. That was his pen name, his author's name. He was a guy that lived during the Second World War in India, and his brother had died in the war. He was a fighter pilot, and this physical man turned up at his house in a turban and knocked on the door, and his butler opened the door. I love this, and takes him to this office, and he's holding the telegram, informing him that his brother's died. And this man walks in, an Indian man with a turban on, and says, I've come to take you to your brother. And he said, you can't. I've just got this telegram saying he's died. He said, I'll return tonight and I'll take you to your brother. And this guy's like, what? Anyway, so he falls asleep at night. Again, one of these experiences where he has full memory of when he falls asleep and he awakens into his astral form. And there's the man in the turban in an astral form saying, I'll take you to meet your brother. So he takes him to this place where his brother is. And his brother is still enjoying the earth experience. He's doing on the second earth or astral earth things that he hadn't done while he was physically in. Like he's going to Paris and eating in restaurants. And he's like, I'm really happy. I'm having a great time. And so the author says, oh, that's nice. And then this turbaned man took him to different realms of dimensions. And he went to the elemental realm, and he saw all the fairies and stuff like. Anyway, it's a brilliant book. So I read the book, and for the longest time, I'm like, I want to experience that. I want to do that. And every night I'd fall asleep and ask. And I, like months, maybe even years went by. I can't remember. It seemed like years. Maybe it wasn't. And until it did. And then one night, I'm having the experience of being in a classroom, and I'm asking my teacher, how do I move between realms, knowing I'm not in physical body? And then they give me the, how to do it. Mm-hmm. And I wake up into another realm, not in the classroom realm, but in another realm, another dimension. And I'm staring at the turbaned man, and he's holding out a liqueur. And I said to him, I take this liqueur and I look at him and I look around, and Shirley MacLaine's there. And I'm like, what the, So I'm holding my liqueur. And it's so funny because this happened 25 years ago. And I remember it like yesterday, like a lot of people say, when they remember NDEs, right. Even though it was a nightly sojourn, an out-of-body experience. I sit at a table with a whole lot of people. I'm holding this liqueur, and I say to Shirley MacLaine, what are you doing here? And she says, I'm one of your teachers. And I said, are you? And she says in this such matter-of-fact way, she said, oh, really? Do you think it was any coincidence that mine were the first books you ever picked up on this subject? And I'm like, I guess not.
I can hear her.
Right. So chastising almost in a way, like, wake up, you silly girl. And I said, can you drink when you're not in your body? And she said, yeah, you can drink. I said, but you get drunk? And she said, well, you don't get drunk, but you can remember what it was like, and you can recreate it if you want, if you wish to, or you can just enjoy the experience of drinking. You can create the drunk experience or not, because we are creators, and we're creating. Right. We're creating on earth. We're creating wherever we are creators. We create with thought. And so we start watching movies of her, Hollywood movies.
That's hilarious.
I know, right? And I'm sitting at this time. I don't know who the other people were. I don't remember that. I didn't come back with that information. But so I'm sitting at this table of these people, and we're having deep and meaningful conversation, as well as watching movies of Shirley MacLaine dancing. And then there appears to be like an earthquake. I feel this shaking, and I'm like, what's going on? And I grab the table and I look up and I say to them, what's happening? And before I finish that, out of my mouth, I'm back in my bedroom.
Wow.
I'm back in my bedroom. I'm in my body and out of my body simultaneously. I know I'm in my body, but my awareness is up on the ceiling, like up in the corner of the room. And I'm looking through all the walls, and they're all transparent. They're see-through, translucent and transparent. It's the matrix moment where I was shown the matrix of life, like I could see it's all energy moving and it's all light. It was all light energy, so I could see through it, but it was there. It was the most incredible experience. And I could see my daughter waking up in her bedroom. I could see her waking up and get out of bed and walk down the hallway and come into my bedroom. And I'm thinking, my body or some part of me has called me back into this experience because my daughter is about to wake up, my physical. So before, I'm being called back before it even happens. Like there is this intelligent orchestration that is happening, which was blowing my mind, in time and space. And she's shaking me, Mom, wake up. And I'm aware of being in my body and her shaking me, but I'm also still out of my body. So again, this dual experience, in and out simultaneously. And I'm like, I don't want this experience to end. And she's like, she couldn't wake me up. And she's like, oh, she gives up and she goes out of the room and she, heads towards the kitchen to get something to eat. And at that point, I've gone back into mother mode. Oh, I better get up and make her breakfast. And with that thought, I'm back in my body. And I'm behind my eyes. Like before I was everywhere and now I'm behind my eyes, and I open my eyes and I'm lying in bed. I'm like, I'm back in my body.
Did it feel heavy and clunky? Were you in that kind of awareness or you just?
No, I was too amazed at what I'd experienced because I'd come back in with full memory, which is not what I experience now. When I wake up in the morning, I don't come in with that full memory, but I had my guides or my soul or my oversoul or my higher self, my team had given me that window, that pocket, that experience of having full memory. Like Garnet, when he writes his books, when he's out of body with his spirit guide, comes back in with full memory, writes it down. And then when he's not on the mission to do that, he has no memory, so we can have this opening and this closing. And then I get up and I go into the breakfast, to the kitchen to make breakfast for my daughter. And I'm thinking, what the hell just happened? Like I'm going over it. But again, Shirley said to me at that stage, I'm one of your teachers. And I said, are you? But she's no longer, present. Like she's always there if I want to tap into her, even though she's in body. Like Shirley MacLaine is not dead. She doesn't have to be dead to speak to her spirit. But she's no longer really present on my team because I'm doing other things. And there are other points of consciousness that are inspiring me that I tap into. And we've run out of time. It's 3 minutes left.
Yeah.
So we didn't have any questions from people. Awesome experience. Yeah.
Well, and the point is we want people to send in questions too, so we could have a list to go from as well. Did you establish an email? I think you did.
Just go to my website. If you have questions about life, love, and the universe, or any questions you want to ask my guides, go to KarenSwain.com and go to the contact or the connect and send in your questions. I've also got an email which I made for this called questions@KarenSwain.com. But it's easier just to go to my website, KarenSwain.com. Spelt like Karen, pronounced like Karen. My mother's at my mother's insistence. Thank you both. Great show. Thanks, darling one.
Yeah, beautiful. You. Yeah.
Come on next time. So we're not sure what we're going to do next week. What are we going to do next week? We'll have to come up with an idea.
Yeah.
So this is a new show called Elevate Consciousness, the awareness shift, waking the quantum self, where we're having conversations, Kristin and Carolann and I'll do Q&A. And what are you saying here, Heidi? I'm going to start driving home. Gratitude, ladies. Are you at work?
Oh, lovely. And Carolann has asked me to be on her show on September 5th. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
On Ethereal Encounters Down Under. Just remind us of the time. She's got 2 shows. What day are you going on?
I just know it's on September 5th. I believe that's a Friday. So whatever time.
So on her Friday show.
I think it's 5:00 Mountain Time.
Okay, great. 5:00 Mountain, which will be 7 p.m. Eastern, right?
Correct.
Yeah. And my show, ATP Media, Accentuate the Positive, Awakening and Expanding Consciousness, is on a Sunday night in the States, on Monday morning in Australia. It's 6:30 p.m. actually on a Sunday afternoon Eastern time. And Desda Zuckerman is coming up. She's been on the show before. She's an incredible, beautiful healer. I think she's from New York. And she is someone who can see and read auras. She's written the most incredible book about it. She sent it to me. It was a massive book. Must have cost her a fortune to send it to me. And I lent it to a friend of mine who was an energy healer. I never saw it again. Or maybe I gave it to her. But I probably gave it to her. But who just loved it. Yeah, incredible. So we're going to have a chat with Desda about healing and seeing the human aura and all the different aspects of the aura. It's so complicated. She sees it like this multicolored layers. Like we don't just have one aura. You know, when you have aura photos and you just get one aura, like some colors, like there are all these different layers. There's the etheric body, the astral body, the mental body, the spiritual body, the emotional body. Like there are all these different layers of energy that makes up the physical form. And it starts, the physical form is created from the spiritual or energetic form. And if you go into that realm of the energy form of your body and work in that realm, this is how miracle healers work, and change things in your etheric, astral, energetic body, it then manifests in the physical body. A lot of healing arts, we look at the physical body and we give it drugs, or we pound it and massage it and pull it and stretch it but actually if you work in the energy body, it will manifest in the physical body. That's how everything works. Like thought manifests. Right. Thought is energy. So it'll be great with Desda. Wow, we've run out of time. Thank you, darling. Well, we didn't even hear more of your stories. It's too short, isn't it?
It's too short. I have stories with Garnet in the astral, so it'd be fun.
Diane also says we've got 2 or 3 Dianes on. Thanks, great show, great stories and reminders. Thank you, darling one. And thanks everybody for tuning in. Joe's coming up, UFO Undercover, and then Michelle DeRoche's show is coming up after that on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, syndicated radio, all over the place. We'll have to try and find this music to go out with. We'll catch you again next week. Send in your questions. We want your questions. Bye for now.